Didn't I tell you that everything will be alright, Gary? Now see how they can't even take their eyes off of each other. Smile. My condolence. Huh? What are you saying? Sorry to break it to you, but your little daughter officially today. What nonsense are you blabbering at this holy moment? Aren't you happy for your sister? Getting angry. I'm not happy. Not after seeing the blankness in his eyes, which were once filled with love for her. Welcome, my daughter. Welcome home, hugged Vian. Consumed with guilt and fear, I couldn't meet Mrs. Kim's eyes. But she lifted my chin and smiled at me, yet the tears in her eyes served as a painful reminder of the loss I had caused her. I was overwhelmed with emotions and surprised that someone could find such grace in the face of unimaginable loss, when her words surprised me more. It wasn't your fault, she whispered through tears. It was. Leave the past where it belongs, and focus on shaping a brighter future with the strength you have gained. Wiped Vian's tears and patted her cheek. Patted Vian's head and gave his blessings. Taeyong? He called his son, who was standing all silent, lost somewhere. Yes, Dad. Take care of your wife, okay? Somewhere Mr. Kim was afraid that his son might do something bad, as Taeyong possessed the calmness of calm before the storm. Of course, Dad. She's my wife after all. I'll take care of her. Don't worry. He smiled at his dad and took Vian in his embrace by hugging her shoulder from the side. His parents smiled in relief, believing their son, but only Vian knew how foreign his embrace felt, how cold his voice sounded, and how scary his silence was. Okay then, we should get going. You guys enjoy your beautiful journey together and step out of her trance. But where are you going? Desperately asked. Oh dear, we are waiting for this moment when we can be easy from this side and enjoy our time together. So we are going to live in other mansion. You know, privacy. Cheekily smiled, making Mrs. Kim give his shoulder a playful smack. We'll miss you. Oh, believe me guys, you won't. Winked as she teased them. Okay, we shouldn't tease them anymore. Let's get going. Meeting Taeyong and Vian for the last time, they were about to walk out when Mrs. Kim turned to Vian and spoke. If you need anything, then Mary is here. Told about their headmaid. And I'm just one call away. Vian nodded, knowing well that no one could help her now. As his parents left, Mary led Vian to Taeyong's room and she silently followed. Vian's mind went blank upon seeing all the romantic decorations in his room. Those red flowers on the bed were looking like funeral preparations for her. She had always dreamed about this day, but when it really came true, she did not like it a bit. Everything was terrifying her to the core, yet there was reassurance that it would alleviate her guilt for being the cause of his loss. She was convincing her heart and mind to accept it as her punishment. When she heard the door creak open, she turned around to meet his cold eyes, but her soul trembled when she saw him locking the door. Despite being used to the dark for so long, this darkness was scaring her now. She couldn't help but cry as the darkness around her was whispering scary things to her. In panic, she took a step back, but stumbled onto something and fell. To save herself from the fall, she tried to grab the sink, but her disability didn't allow her to do so. Her hand didn't had any grip in it, so she fell on her back and was unable to get up owing to the extremity of pain. She lay on the cold floor in her wedding gown, accompanied only by tears in the darkness. After a while, her sobs died, and her eyes felt heavy as sleep took over her exhausted form. I'm scared of the dark, Tang, who was trying to stay strong, broke down. Hearing her crying and falling, he rushed towards the door to open it, but stopped his hand before it could twist the doorknob. He hesitated and put his ear to the door to listen to her. But as he thought her cries and regret would satisfy his beast, he felt more restless. For a second, he thought to betray his beast and forgive her. He thought to take her in his embrace and provide her with all the comfort this world has to offer. But on a second thought, his beast took over, reminding him how his sister is not in this world anymore because of her carelessness and recklessness, reminding him how she betrayed his love behind his back. But she is regretting, whispered to himself. But what's the use of it now, when the damage has already been done? Of course she would regret it. That's the whole point. Rebuilding the wall of unforgiveness around his heart, he was about to leave when he heard something from her. I'm scared of the dark there. It was almost inaudible, yet he managed to hear her weak tone and impactful words. Her words once again stopped him, and he slid down to the floor, sitting on the same cold floor as hers, supporting his back against the bathroom door. He closed his eyes and fell asleep. As the light crept through the bathroom window, I opened my eyes and let out a tired groan. My entire body felt sore after spending the entire night on the cold floor, but after so many years, I slept peacefully. As he did not appear in my nightmares to torture me, perhaps I will be living those nightmares in reality now. Shaking off my dark thoughts, I sat up with the utmost difficulty and was about to stand up when someone opened the door. I snapped my head in its direction, and there he was, standing in the doorway. His harsh, cruel gaze locked onto mine with such intensity that my heart raced. He is not Matang, for whom I have waited all these years. He stepped forward, his movements slow and deliberate, each one making the space between us shrink. I immediately stood up from the floor, but the moment I stood straight, he was right in front of me, barely a few inches away. I took involuntary steps back, my back pressing against the wall. There was nowhere to run, nowhere to hide from the storm braving in his gaze. I averted my gaze from him and tried to walk past him, as I wanted to escape before the situation escalated. Where do you think you're going? He spoke darkly and caught her by her arm as she was about to cross him, tried to snatch her arm from his grasp. Leave me. I'm not leaving you. Not this time. Saying this, he pinned her to the wall in front of him and closed the remaining gap between them. He stopped just inches away, his towering figure casting her in his shadow. One swallowed hard, feeling the weight of his stare like a physical force, crushing down on her until she was certain her knees might give away. Let's continue what we left behind. The air around them felt thick with dangerous possibilities. Vian could feel the coolness of his breath against her skin, a stark contrast to the heat of her own fear. So, where were we last night? Nowhere. Please let me go. I let you ruin our first night, but won't let you do the same with our first day as a couple. We must celebrate. Let's start by showering together. Saying this, his hands made their way to her back, and in an instant, he opened the zip of her gown which was securing the fabric of her back together. Upon realizing his action and motives, Her eyes widened and she tried to push him by his chest, which didn't work as what she could have done with only one hand. Her gown loosened and he slid it down from her shoulders, not caring about her resistance. While trying to move her gown down, he leaned in and placed his on her bare shoulder. She gasped and squirmed in his hold, not helping the gown to stay in place. But before it could slide down her, she started hitting his chest with one fist, while few sobs were heard from her. He leaned back and grabbed her wrist, which made her look at him through tears. You hate my touch, even though I'm your husband. Hit his fist on the wall behind her, making her tremble and flinch. You, my sister, and I still married you. Can't you even return the me? Gave him a blank stare as tears fell from her red eyes. Her words rattled him. Even he didn't know why her words had such an impact on him, but he felt like crying. Me, or put me behind bars. Just don't make me hate you by doing this, please. Her shaking whispers echoed in his ears, making his heart bleed. As her words sank in him, he composed his posture and took a step back. Get lost, coldly spat. Vine ran out of the bathroom as if she was waiting for this only. She rushed straight into the changing room and locked the doors to gather her wings up. Mary served them food and they were eating silently until Taeyong spoke. Coffee. Yes, sir. Wine. His sudden stern call made her flinch, and she hesitantly looked at him. Yes? Make coffee for me. Sir, her hand. Okay. She stood up from her chair and went into the kitchen to make him coffee. Mary's worried gaze followed Vine since she was aware of her disability. Taeyong's expression remained unchanged as he continued eating his breakfast while reading his email from his tab. Vine returned and placed his coffee cup on the table. Taeyong glanced at the cup, but his stare lingered there for a moment. He suddenly grasped her hand, making her hiss in pain, and withdraw her hand out of his grip. Where was your focus? Can't even do one simple thing properly. He spoke frustratingly as he saw her burnt hand. She sat on her chair again as if nothing had happened to her. Life is hard when you have one hand. Her coldness toward her own self perplexed him. He stared at her for some time until it clicked. She can't use her other hand, yet he ordered her to make his coffee. Guilt began to consume him, but he consoled himself by believing that he married her to make her life hell. This is exactly what's happening. Mary, bring the first aid box. Mary, who had the aid box ready in her hand as she already saw Vine's injury, extended it towards Taeyong and stepped back to give them space. Taeyong once again grabbed her hand and pulled her chair close to his. As he applied medicine to her burn, she kept staring at him with 1,000 questions racing in her mind. His behavior was confusing her. One moment he wants revenge from her, and the next moment he behaves as if he can't bear to see her in pain. Don't flatter yourself with the thought that I care about you. Spoke while still focusing on applying the medicine. If I won't take care of you, then Mary will tell Mom. And I don't want my mom to know the truth about our marriage. Feel free to consider all my care as drama. Vine kept staring at him with a blank gaze until he finished spitting venom in the form of words and closed the aid box. And one more thing. Don't ever make anything for me ever again. Who knows, one day you will me too by mixing poison this time. He walked away after emotionally her, and she stared at her dressed gown with a bitter smile on her lips. Don't care about me. Liar.